for actually looking at the console itself, you've got this little picture up here. It looks exactly like a console. If you hover over it, it'll say console. Click on that, you can see everything labeled out for you and named. I've got the house lights on this fader. I've got stage lights on this fader. Podium wash, or just the center on this fader. Your full stage wash, I don't have the podium included in that. Just because the way this software works, it likes to think of it like a stack of cards. The more, when you activate one and then activate another, it's stacking it on top of her. So whatever you did in this queue is going to override everything in this queue. So say you told this house light to be on in this fader, and then you tell this fader to turn it off. When you activate this one, it's going to turn it off, and it won't be able to turn it back on until you activate this one again. Right. Okay. So it's just a stack of cards kind of thing. That's always the easiest way to explain it. You've got all those little cue lists that I made up here. I don't think these are doing anything, so I'm just going to delete them.
But as long as it's just connected to one thing and not connected to something saying that it's off, then that's not included in that.
Correct. Everything you've done in this queue list to do it, it will activate. So you have to really keep that in mind when programming stuff. If you are like looking for a light and you say, nope, that's not the one I wanted, and turned it off, that saves it in the queue. So you always want to make sure to like not stack them like that. A way you can get around that is to right click on where it says over the thing you edited. You can right click it and hit clear, and then you see now it came back on over there. Anything you do that way will kind of turn them off. So now that queue that I had for the LED bars isn't working until I go through and hit clear, and they'll come right back on.
Okay. So can you show us how you set one of those up?
Yeah, I'll set up a whole page for you. So you can do it a couple different ways. I usually use the yellow button over here, and it's essentially you can do each
stacking.
Yeah, it kind of set it up to where you can do new, skip forward, new. I will usually do it that way, but you don't have to. Another way you can do it is you've got the new button up here. Click new queue list. You can do, say, I'm going to turn all of these on. I'm going to select them all. You can either do it that way, just click and drag and hover over, or you can click this little box here, and it'll select all those fixture groups that we made. It'll select it all in there. I want them all to turn on. You'll hear them all come on, or just you'll see it do whatever you wanted to. You can label it, say, you've got.
So how did you label that?
Yep.
Sorry.
So yeah, no, you're all good. I go too fast sometimes. If you have it selected up in here, it'll be highlighted red. That's how you know you're editing in that queue list.
So this is a queue. This is a queue. This is a queue.
Not yet.
Not yet.
You can.
Well, we're setting up the queue.
Yep, that's what we're doing now.
Okay.
So this is actually the physical queue list that we're setting up, and then we take that queue list and drag it to whatever fader we want it to be in. To edit the naming of everything, it's up in here, the Edit tab, right next to File. And then you'll go down to Queue List Properties. And then you've got the label up here. You can label it whatever you want. You can change its ID number if you want. You've got it set to priority. The priorities are essentially that stacking that we were talking to. The priorities essentially move it to the top of the stack, and anything below it can't change it at all.
And you set it left or right.
Yeah, you can set it left to right or right to left.
You can set it
wherever you want to put it, you can put it. But priorities are essentially just moving it to the top of the stack or bottom of the stack, depending on however you want it. The play at end option, so whenever it gets to the end of the queue list, whatever you want it to do, you can set it to either restart, so it'll go back to the beginning of the queue list, you can set it to release. So once you get to the last button and you press it again, it releases the whole cue list. I've never used ignore, so I have no idea what it does, to be honest. Usually I'll set stuff like house lighting or front wash to restart it, just to make sure it can't turn off unless I want it to. Yes.
So restart, can you show an example of what the difference between restart and
So
what was the other option?
restart, release. So
Release.
I'll go ahead and I'll come back to that real quick. I'm going to show you how to drag it in. So you've got all your cue lists up in here.
Okay.
You can look through different stuff up in here to kind of check out stuff. The main one you'll stay on is cue list though. For dragging it in, the one we just made was the all house lighting. So you click on it and just drag it over. It'll be highlighted, that kind of cyan color.
Right.
You release it and it's there for you. And now you've set up it on the fader and it will control all of the house lights for you.
Okay. So then what does this do?
So right now it's set to kind of hold everything on. So when you press it, it brings everything up. You can change it to whatever button you want. Usually I set the bottom one to a play button, which is up in here. You'll see cue list buttons. You can, any of these you can change it to however you want. I'll usually click and drag a play button. You'll see it highlight that same cyan color. And then it's a different button. You've also got a release button. And you can change this button up here to release the cue. This one will hit play. So going back to that restart or release, for right now it's still set to restart. So when you hit play, it's just going to replay the cue list, essentially.
All right.
So you can visually see it up in here. So anytime I press that play button, it starts it over.
And since it was already on, it just keeps it on.
Yep, it just keeps it on. You can change that to go back into that edit, cue list properties, and it'll bring you up into this page. You can change that to release. So now that play button will release
Turns it off. Okay.
Turns it
Gotcha.
off.
Gotcha.
So that's why I usually leave those house light buttons on a restart, just in case somebody's just playing around, bumping buttons. They're gonna turn off the house lights on everybody. So I usually like to leave it on that. And then obviously always make sure to save and everything. You can either save it by this button, or when you close out of it, you'll see it's got a red X on there. That means you edited it and it's had something done to it, so it needs to be resaved. You can either save it by clicking the save button up here, or you can click on the X. It'll ask you if you want to save it. You can do save and release. It'll release the whole cue list,
Okay.
or just save, and we'll just save it as normal. It'll leave it alone.
So since you added that to here, what happened to the original house setting? So that's still saved there, right?
Yes. So this is page 2.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I had preset was on page 1.
So where does it show that it was turned off on one?
I'm sorry, what?
Where is it showing here that it was turned off on page 1?
Oh, it's not. That is a different cue list. It's a different cue list on a different page. Think of it like the fader banks over here.
Okay.
You're just switching between what you want.
Okay. So once you moved over, I got you.
It's all back, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So all of this stuff I had set up was on page 1.
Okay.
And then these arrow cues you can switch between.
I got you.
So now on page 2, that was that one I just
Right.
made.
So we don't have the other set up. Okay.
Mhm.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and that's, I can show you how to use the LED pars. They're just as simple, except you've got the color option now. If you want to change their colors, you've got your pick of the litter.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that other par over there doesn't like the color blue,
Yep.
so it's not gonna do blue for you. But yeah, that's pretty much it with them. He was asking for some kind of effects. You've got all your intensity effects down here. They'll do some different effects for you. It's obviously not going to look the best because of that distance with the connector. But that's what those are. for doing anything like just, you have a live tab, think of the live tab like it will always have top of the stack every single time. So anything you do in the live tab will automatically take over no matter what's going on. So keep that in mind when doing stuff in here, and you'll have separate sections for your cue list in here that are separate from the live tab.
Cue, okay.
So that's all the stuff we made,
Right.
all those
Okay.
different cue lists.
Yep.
I was showing him how to make different, like if you wanted to have just like a sequence of a cue list, you've got this green button up here. You click on that and it'll add a cue into the list. And you can add as many as you want, and they can all do different stuff throughout it. And you just hit play like normal, and you can just hit the play button and it'll push through.
Oh, okay.
So if we were having a program or something,
Yeah.
we
you
would
can-
set up when to turn on what lights
Mhm.
and then save it as a specific
Yep.
name.
And you can change it
And then
as
just run
that.
through it.
You can also set it up if you double click on where it says halt. Halt pretty much says it's not going to go past that point until you tell it to. You can also set it up to follow, which makes it to where,
It's got more options than we need.
right, yeah, it's, you can do a lot with this. I've
Yeah.
done massive shows with this software and everything to the smallest of shows. You can set it up to where once it gets to that cue, it'll go right through to the next one. You can also set it up to where if you want it on, say, a 2-second delay, that little F down there with the 2. So now when it clicks and goes through, it's going to wait 2 seconds, then go through.
Yeah.
So you've got all those different options.
How do you? So the best way to switch from one thing to another is to set up different cues.
Usually that can help. It depends on what you're wanting to set up, I guess.
Right, but different scenes for
Yeah.
what you'd be doing.
Can I get that water bottle over there?
Yeah, we would have, certain lights on, and then maybe when people are walking in, and then when they start, turn different, spotlight on the stage, and then if people are walking over from here, we may have a light over there. So that would be different cues that we'd manually select when they got to
You
that
can-
point.
Yeah, I don't
can
think you
add-
want to totally automate it, where it's time,
No.
so.
Right.
Not with
I don't
kids,
do
especially.
anything timed.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
matter what I'm doing, I will never do anything timed because
Yeah.
I don't trust it.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
trust the people on stage to follow
Right.
the
Right.
schedule.
Right.
Ever. Unless it's to a recording track, that is the
Right.
only time I'll ever trust it.
I mean, that's what we have with our pageant, though. It's all automated, got the soundtrack, got the cues with the
Yeah.
soundtrack and everything, so.
It's all on, but there's no words. The audio's, but there's just nobody speaking.
All the speaking
right.
has been done.
So what is this?
That's just your grandmaster. So every light came through here. So bring it down, everything's turning off.
Regardless of what cue you're in.
Regardless.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So what are, I guess, all these?
They are essentially, like I was saying, just keyboard shortcuts for the console
okay.
itself. You can see when you press the button, it'll change what goes on up here. You can preset those buttons to do certain stuff up in here. I normally don't use them with pressing these buttons.
Okay.
A way you can change that is right-clicking on it, and you have
change what it-
all
yeah,
your
yeah,
different
yeah.
things. The ones I usually use are tools, down in here, stop effects, and then all your different stop.
Did you find the guy on the end by chance? No.
No, I dug through the patch with a bunch of dimmer channels, which essentially is just on and off, which tells the light to move and do stuff. And I couldn't get it to do anything. So I'm not sure. I mean, I heard them come on,
Right.
but yeah, I couldn't get them to. I mean, I put something in every
Which
single
right
one
now
of these.
they're off.
They're off?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Huh. How they got turned off. Because I didn't press that button again.
Me neither.
Which we just changed, well,
Yeah, I
changing
know,
the
you-
plugs wouldn't have,
No, it decided to shut down automatically. I don't know. I didn't notice it when it did.
Yeah, don't get me. Oof, too many. So close. Let's see if we do something. That guy didn't know. There they go. Alright. Have a fun guessing game of
so they're somewhere in there.
which one did something. Which I like to play that game by using the highlight button. Oh. Just
Guys are really going to mess me up now with this. Your backwashes and stuff in different colors is going to screw up my
Well-
white balance on these cameras.
What I think we need to do is we just need to decide decide something and set on it
Yeah.
and not change it.
Well, I mean,
And
there's
like-
going to be times when, like Christmas, you're going to want to have red and
well,
greens,
right,
and
but
then
for the most part,
Yeah.
ooh. Okay, that's
there's nothing there.
not one of any of these
Well, it's
was.
got some
this
red
row.
red wash up there.
There she is. Okay, you're one of these. Ooh. So I think it's something in this row for sure. Dude. Ooh. Ooh, okay. Here. Yes. No. I don't want to make up its mind who wants to listen to me or not.
So a lot of these lights have like an automatic
Mm-hmm.
sequence that they'll run through for you.
So yeah, I was telling him my guess is it's a Chauvet Intimidator, but it's which one of them is it?
Gotcha.
Because there's a lot in there. So
I know
and
the little ones I got in
it'd
the
be one of
green
those
room
things
are
I need
150s.
to go up in there to see what it is, see what number it's set to, and then I could go through and actually get it in the software and everything.
You'd have to know which one.
I'd have to know which one it is. And there's another thing, it's set to different channel modes as well. Some of them have, like a 16 channel mode and an 18 channel mode that do different things.
See, did you see it just blinked?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way we can get that turned off without unplugging it?
Not that I'm aware of. Besides physically turning it off, no. I don't know what would be
So,
causing
alright,
that.
so Jeff, help me out with this. When you hit that button and that turned those on, is there anything else that button is controlling?
Well, it's controlling the amps and all that stuff.
So is there any way we can plug up the amps somehow?
I mean, if you
So that-
figure out which one it's plugged up into back here, you can just unplug that one. This should be able to at least unplug that part of the sequencer.
Are you following that,
Yeah,
Jeff?
yeah, yeah,
Can
yeah.
you, I wonder,
I-
in the meantime, so that we can just get that flash to stop,
Yeah,
and then later we can,
yeah, well, we can try experimenting and see which one's, what's plugged to what. Because I have no clue right
Use those
now.
for any of
Right.
my stuff, I can eliminate that.
yeah.
Because I know that was driving Danny nuts when he was
Yeah.
trying to mess with stuff.
And people are saying they see it. And
Yeah.
I said it's distracting. Okay.
But,
All right, yeah.
Does
well,
that all make sense with the software and everything? I think to kind of rush it. I don't know.
Yeah.
don't have
So
too much
show me
more
how you
time.
got to the spot where it had all the,
All the like the numbers and stuff.
right.
That would be this guy up here.
Okay.
That's your patch. That's everything over here.
Okay.
You've got every light you could think of that this software is aware exists in here.
So that's where you assign things.
Yeah. These little one channel guys are just a dimmer channel. So you type in just dim, and you've got the one down here under generic, and you just click on it and drag it in, and it's now in spot number 250.
But there's just nothing plugged in.
Yeah, there's nothing plugged in, so it's not going to do anything.
Okay.
And I did go ahead, I couldn't figure out which pars those were, or I did figure out which one they were, I just wasn't sure if that file was working. So I made a profile, it's under user, and then it's right in here. So if you have more of them, just click and drag it in, and it's got the 7 channels under there for you.
So right now we've got all, well, you split them out. You did change them. How would you change, like, make it go red, green, red, green? So you just,
They're each in order from left to
Right.
right as you're
Yep.
looking at them. So, say these red,
okay, just clicking it.
and just clicking on
So
them.
as long as it's unlocked.
Yeah, or it doesn't have to be unlocked. As long as it's got that yellow highlight on it, it'll go that color.
And then we could assign that to one of the cues
Mm-hmm.
and one of those
Yep.
buttons at the top. Well, when I sit down and start playing with it, I'll just ask you all the
And there
questions.
are loads of like stuff on YouTube
Okay.
that
Yeah,
you
what's-
can look up and find like tutorials
What is
on
it?
there.
What is it called?
Uh,
I guess that's,
Vista
you
Q
can
or
look up
something?
the
Vista.
actual software Vista by Chroma Q.
Chroma Q.
okay.
All right.
Okay. And then the page up and down, we did that. Okay. Okay.
And you can double check it over
What
here.
about these?
Right now I've got it set to these top buttons are release
Okay.
and these middle buttons are select. So it's just selecting that cue. You can change them to any of these buttons, whatever you want.
Right.
You've also got cue list faders. You can tell these to do whatever they want. Usually the ones I use for stuff is like crossfade. So essentially, I'll show you what that does. So if I release the cue, what crossfade does is essentially activates the cue as you're raising the fader, and bringing it down deactivates the cue.
So like reverse.
Essentially. So what I initially had it set up to was just intensity, so it only controls the intensity of the cue list in there. So if I go back to intensity, nothing's gonna happen besides just the intensity of it. Which those papers are gone. So now it's that number right here is the intensity of the what is it, fader? Which one? Was that one? Interesting. Yeah, here. Let's go back to, see, so that fader, so to that, so it's only on intensities of everything. Depending on what you have activated in the cue list, that depends on what that crossfade is gonna do. The intensity fader just controls the on-off of the LEDs. The crossfade would say, if you had those parts set to blue, what it's gonna do when you bring the fader down, it's gonna send them back to their default, which is
Okay.
of 0, which is white, or it will be white.
Right.
So it pretty much just turns the cue off.
Gotcha.
Via
The
fader.
intensity is going to change the brightness of
Yes,
the blue.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, just the brightness. Yep.
Okay. So I'm just curious, if we hit this over here, I'm guessing this trumps this, because that's how it was set up before.
Usually that's how that would work. It might not.
Oh, might not. So this trumps that.
I guess so. Let me see. You can take back over control. Nope. Let me see if I can get it to. No. So it does not trump it. So that thing has priority.
Okay.
So if you hit the off button
So
on
we
there,
need-
I
yeah,
might
okay.
be able to take back control.
Okay. So I hit off.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. And now I have.
That's good to know.
Might need a note on there to
Right.
not touch it.
Yeah.
No
Service.
touchy.
Okay. All right. Well, so as far as like turn it off, turn it on.
Yeah.
What do we-
Very
what do
easy.
what do we need to know?
Always big rule, save before you close out of it. But to close out of it, it's just hit save and then click the X. Are you sure you want to quit? Yes. Close out of software.
Okay.
I've got it pinned down here. It's this
Okay.
yellow V. When you turn on the software.
Yeah. See, look at
you'll-
this guy. So that's because of.
Yep.
The-
Once they lost signal, they started going crazy. So turning it on, loading up the software, it'll boot it up. I've got it set to where it'll open up the show file.
So really, you got to turn those off before you shut it down.
More than likely, yeah. I would clear those out. We can test it again. But I've got it set to where it'll load up the show file automatically for you. Everything's going to be preset off, so you'll have to turn it all back on. You just press the button. Green means it's transitioning into the next cue. Yellow means it's on. Don't know why they didn't make yellow the transitioning color and green the on button. They just decided to do it that way.
So you open that, and then what'd you hit here?
I hit all of these are
Okay.
like the on buttons
Okay.
for the cue list. That's how I have them set up.
Okay.
This is to be on. It's all on page 1.
Mm-hmm.
Where does it say page 1? So you'd have to click on the thing.
Yeah, you gotta click on here to double check it. That's
Yeah.
on page 1 of 2.
Yeah. So that one's off right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And so is there a power to this?
No, it is all powered off of this USB.
Okay.
Yeah, these consoles are small, so they
What-
don't require much power.
So what is this going to?
This is the wireless dongle that's talking to the LED bars.
Okay.
And then this is everything going to the dimmers.
Okay.
And what I recommend we do, David, is get a little extension cord and then see if we can't optimize the location of that antenna so that
Yeah.
you get better reception to the,
Yeah, which we could do up there and back here.
yeah.
Yeah, I've already got that one on a little extension for you, so you could raise it up to wherever you want. Obviously, the higher the better.
Those are the powers. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So worst case scenario, if something goes wrong or we can't figure it out, we can trump it with that, which is what we've
Yeah.
been doing already anyway.
Yep, yep.
All right.
And you've got my number. If you run into issues,
Yeah.
I'll do my best to answer questions
Yep.
that you might have. If I'm around, I should more than likely be around most of the time, but sometimes I'm
Yeah.
on site, so
I know how to get in touch with Billy.
yeah, you can either ask him as well.